What if I told you that most men don't struggle with women because of their looks, money, or social status? What if the real reason has nothing to do with the things you've been led to believe matter? Most men chase, overanalyze, and try way too hard, only to push women further away. But then there's a small percentage of men who don't chase, don't beg, and don't overthink, yet they attract effortlessly. What do they know that you don't? The answer isn't found in tricks, gimmicks, or fake confidence. It's all about a mindset, a way of thinking that changes everything. See, the difference between a man who struggles and a man who effortlessly attracts comes down to one simple thing: control over his emotions. That's it. The men who get it don't seek validation, they don't react emotionally, and they don't base their worth on whether or not a woman approves of them. They embody something much deeper, something timeless. They practice the same principles that ancient Stoics lived by: detachment from external validation, emotional mastery, and an unshakable sense of self. Now, let's get one thing straight. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's not about playing games or acting indifferent just to get a reaction. That's just manipulation, and women see through it instantly. This is about something real, something that shifts the way you move through the world. It's about becoming the kind of man who commands respect without demanding it. The kind of man who remains calm in the face of chaos. The kind of man who never loses himself just to keep someone else interested. Women are naturally drawn to men who operate this way, not because they're playing some elaborate game of reverse psychology, but because deep down they recognize something rare, something powerful. A man who doesn't place his happiness in someone else's hands, a man who doesn't break under pressure, a man who is whole, with or without them. And when you reach that level, you don't have to chase. The right people naturally gravitate toward you. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly what it means to embody this mindset. You'll know how to walk into any situation with confidence, how to stop seeking approval, and how to become the kind of man who doesn't just attract women, but earns their respect. Because attraction isn't about what you say or do, it's about who you are. And once you master that, everything else falls into place. Let's talk about something that destroys attraction faster than anything else. And no, it's not your looks, your bank account, or your height. It's something far more subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's the way men unknowingly sabotage themselves in the eyes of women. And if you don't fix these, no amount of money or muscles will save you. The biggest attraction killer: neediness. Most men don't even realize they're doing it. It's that constant craving for approval, that urge to text her first every time, that panic when she takes too long to reply. Women don't respect men who seek validation like a lost puppy. The moment she senses you need her more than she needs you, her attraction plummets. Women are naturally drawn to men who stand on their own, who don't seek constant reassurance. It's about self-respect. If you don't respect yourself enough to be secure on your own, why should she? And then there's emotional overreacting. Nothing repels a woman faster than a man who loses his cool over the smallest things. Maybe she cancels plans last minute, maybe she's testing you, maybe she says something that pushes your buttons, and instead of responding with calm detachment, you lash out, get defensive, or start over-explaining yourself. That emotional volatility is a deal breaker. Women are wired to be drawn to emotional stability. The second you lose frame, you lose power. Scarcity mentality is another silent killer. It's the belief that this one woman is your only shot, that if she leaves, You'll never find someone like her again. That kind of thinking reeks of desperation, and women sense it immediately. The truth: women respect men who know their worth, men who understand that attraction isn't about chasing, it's about choosing. When you act like you need her, you automatically make yourself less valuable in her eyes. It's a paradox. The more desperate you are to keep her, the more she'll pull away. And let's not forget social conditioning. Society has spent years telling men to be overly accommodating, to suppress their masculine instincts, to prioritize being nice over being strong. The result? A generation of men afraid to take the lead, afraid to speak their minds, afraid to be unapologetically themselves. Women aren't attracted to weakness. They may say they want a nice guy, but deep down, they respect strength, confidence, and independence. A man who knows what he wants and isn't afraid to go after it. If you're doing any of these things, you're sabotaging yourself. But here's the good news. This isn't set in stone. You can rewire your mindset, break free from these habits, and embody the kind of presence that naturally draws women in. And in the next part, I'll show you exactly how to do that using the timeless wisdom of the Stoics. Let's talk about the one mindset shift that changes everything: indifference to outcome. Now, before you misunderstand, this isn't about not caring or becoming some emotionless robot. It's about detaching yourself from the results, not letting your emotions ride on, whether she texts back, whether she seems interested, or whether things go exactly as you planned. This is what separates men who are effortlessly attractive from those who struggle. Women are drawn to men, not boys, seeking approval. And here's the harsh truth: most men are stuck in a cycle of trying to please, impress, and win over women. By constantly proving their worth, they put on a show, overanalyze every text, and adjust their entire behavior based on how she reacts. But the moment you seek validation, you're already losing. Women are wired to respond to confidence, not desperation. The guy who walks into a room and doesn't need approval commands attention. He's not performing, he's simply existing in a state of self-assuredness, and that is magnetic. This is where the idgaf energy comes in, but in a Stoic way. It's not arrogance, it's emotional mastery. True confidence isn't about being loud or trying to prove anything. It's about being secure in who you are, regardless of external factors. A man who controls his emotions rather than letting them control him. That's a man people respect, admire, and are naturally drawn to. A woman wants to feel your presence, not your desperation. The moment you stop trying so hard to make things happen, ironically, things start happening for you. The law of non-neediness is real. The less you need, the more you get. When you're centered in yourself, when you operate from abundance instead of desperation, women can sense it. Have you ever noticed that the guys who don't chase are the ones who always seem to have options? It's because they don't rely on external validation to feel whole. They know their worth and act accordingly. Women don't complete their lives, they enhance them. There's a massive difference between wanting someone in your life and needing them to feel complete. The moment you cross that line into neediness, attraction fades. Embracing the outcome without attachment changes the game. Stop obsessing over results and just enjoy the process. Whether it's a conversation, a date, or a relationship, the goal isn't to win, it's to be present. Let go of control. You can't force attraction, just like you can't force respect. The more you try to manipulate an outcome, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you're focused on living your life, improving yourself, and letting things unfold, naturally, you'll notice that women start gravitating toward you. Not because you tricked them into it, But because you're operating from a place of power, this isn't just theory. It's been proven throughout history. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and other great Stoics practiced detachment from external validation. They understood that control over oneself is the ultimate power. And even in modern times, look at men like Keanu Reeves, Tom Hardy, or Ryan Gosling. They're not chasing attention, they're not over-explaining themselves, and yet they're some of the most admired men on the planet. Why? Because they operate with quiet confidence. They live by their own standards rather than bending to external expectations. So here's the real question. Are you in control of your emotions, or are you still letting the reactions of others dictate how you feel? If a woman pulls away, do you panic and start chasing? Or do you remain centered, knowing that no single person defines your worth? This is where real strength comes from, not in trying to manipulate or impress, but in mastering yourself. The moment you become truly indifferent to the outcome, you become the kind of man who naturally attracts. Let's talk about how to truly develop this mindset and make it a part of who you are. This isn't about pretending or putting on an act. Women can sense fakeness from a mile away. This is about internal transformation, about reaching a point where your mindset naturally exudes confidence, self-sufficiency, and emotional mastery. Because once you do that, you won't have to chase. They'll come to you. First, let's address emotional mastery. Most men sabotage their own attraction by letting women dictate their emotions. One moment she's interested, the next she's distant, and suddenly he's spiraling into self-doubt, over-analyzing texts, wondering what he did wrong. That reaction alone is what kills attraction. Women instinctively test a man's emotional stability, whether they realize it or not. It's not malicious, it's simply how attraction works. If you get rattled, if you become needy, if you react emotionally, she feels it on a deep level. And just like that, her attraction fades. But when you remain calm, when you don't let her mood swings or tests shake your foundation, she starts to view you differently. She respects you, and respect breeds attraction. Now let's talk about self-sufficiency. Women don't want to be your world. They want to be part of a world that's already thriving. The biggest mistake most men make is thinking they need a woman to complete them. That energy is repellent. If your happiness, your self-worth, and your drive in life are dependent on a woman, she will lose interest fast. Instead, focus on your purpose. Build a life so fulfilling, so rich, that she wants to be a part of it. Work on your career, your fitness, your personal growth. The moment a woman senses that you're fully content with or without her, she starts to want you even more. It's paradoxical, but it's the truth. Another key element is the power of mystery and detachment. Oversharing, over-texting, constantly seeking validation. These are all attraction killers. The more available you are, the less value you hold. It's not about playing games. It's about maintaining a level of detachment. A woman should always feel like there's more to you than what she sees on the surface. That element of unpredictability, that sense that you're not entirely figured out, keeps her intrigued. Be present, but not always available. Be warm, but not overly eager. Give her enough attention to feel wanted, but never so much that she takes it for granted. And finally, the Stoic balance between rational and emotional thinking. Most men let their emotions dictate their actions when it comes to women. They get too excited when things are going well, too depressed when things aren't. They react instead of thinking logically. But Stoicism teaches control. It teaches that emotions are to be acknowledged, not obeyed. A Stoic man doesn't chase highs or fear lows. He remains steady, logical, composed. This doesn't mean being cold or unfeeling. It means making decisions based on wisdom, not impulse. When you master this, you become the kind of man who naturally commands respect, admiration, and yes, attraction. Something fascinating happens when a man embraces true Stoic detachment. Women start reacting in ways that seem almost counterintuitive. Instead of trying harder, instead of chasing, instead of over-explaining yourself, you do the opposite. You stop worrying about the outcome. And just like that, the dynamic shifts. Women are naturally drawn to men who radiate an unshakable presence. It's not about playing games or pretending not to care. It's about actually not caring in a way that liberates you from emotional dependence. When you let go of the need for a specific reaction, women sense it, and their behavior changes in ways that prove just how powerful this mindset is. At first, there's curiosity. She'll notice that you're not behaving like the average guy. You're not desperate for her approval. You're not hanging on her every word, and you're certainly not trying to impress her with forced charm or over-the-top gestures. That alone makes you stand out. She may test you subtly at first. Maybe she takes longer to reply to messages. Maybe she talks about other guys to see if you react. Or maybe she withdraws slightly just to gauge your response. The average man panics at this point. He overthinks. He texts more. He asks if something's wrong. But the man who truly understands Stoic attraction, he remains unbothered. He continues living his life unaffected. And that, more than anything, makes her drawn to him even more. This is where the magnet effect begins. The less emotionally reactive you are, the more she feels compelled to understand you. Women are naturally wired to test for strength, not in an aggressive way, but in a way that ensures they're dealing with someone who won't crumble under pressure. The moment she sees that your frame is solid, that you're not moved by her subtle tests, she starts chasing. She begins mirroring your energy. If you're calm and confident, she'll become calmer and more interested. If you remain mysterious and don't overshare every little detail about your life, she'll want to know more. Suddenly the dynamic flips. You're no longer the one pursuing her approval, she's working for yours. And here's where the true power of detachment shines. There's a psychological principle at play here. People value what they have to work for. When a man is too available, too eager, too willing to jump through hoops, he loses his value in her eyes. But when he maintains his self-sufficiency, when he stays focused on his mission rather than fixating on her, he becomes rare. And what's rare is desirable. Women respect men who don't seek their approval because it signals something deeper. It shows self-respect. A man who isn't swayed by a woman's shifting moods, who doesn't need constant reassurance, and who isn't waiting on her every decision is a man who has control over himself. That kind of control is rare, and women notice. There comes a moment when she starts wondering, what's different about him? Why isn't he acting like every other guy? Why does he seem so at peace, so unaffected by the typical push and pull games that work on most men? This curiosity is powerful. It makes her invest, and the more she invests, the stronger the attraction becomes. Most men get this entirely backward. They think the way to win a woman over is to prove themselves, to constantly reassure her, to show how much they care through excessive attention. But the reality is, true attraction grows in the space between moments. It's not about overwhelming her with validation. It's about creating an energy where she naturally wants to be around you because she feels something different. This is why Stoic detachment is so effective. When you embody this mindset, you stop overreacting, you stop overgiving, and you stop trying to force attraction. Instead, you let it happen naturally. And when it does, you'll notice a shift that changes everything. She leans in. She initiates contact. She starts making the effort. Because at the end of the day, a man who is truly self-sufficient is the kind of man she wants to be around. Not because he's playing hard to get, but because he actually is. One of the biggest mistakes men make when adopting the Stoic mindset is taking it too far. There's a fine line between mastering your emotions and becoming emotionally unavailable. Women don't want a man who's robotic, unfeeling, or completely disconnected. They want a man who's in control, who can experience emotions without being controlled by them. When you go too far in trying to be indifferent, you risk coming off as cold, detached, and uninterested. And that's not attractive. It's just distant. The key is balance. You want to be calm under pressure, not lifeless. You want to be steady, not emotionally numb. True Stoicism is about control, not suppression. Another common trap is mistaking detachment for disrespect. There's a difference between not being needy and actively dismissing or neglecting someone. Indifference to outcome doesn't mean ignoring a woman's needs, dismissing her emotions, or treating her like she's replaceable. It means you don't let your self-worth hinge on her reactions, but you still engage with confidence and presence. If you misunderstand this and start treating women as if they don't matter, you'll lose them fast. Being indifferent to outcome means you're at peace with whatever happens, not that you're intentionally pushing people away. Women can sense the difference between a man who is emotionally grounded and one who is just playing a game. Women also test men, and how you handle those tests will determine how attractive you remain. Every man will face moments where a woman pushes his buttons just to see if he'll crack. Maybe she suddenly pulls away, maybe she gives a backhanded compliment, maybe she challenges you in a way that seems unfair. If you react emotionally, you fail the test. If you stay calm, keep your frame, and show that you're unaffected, you pass. It's not about ignoring her or pretending not to care. It's about showing that your sense of self isn't dependent on what she says or does. That's what makes a man attractive. A woman doesn't test you because she wants you to fail. She does it because she wants to feel secure with a man who can handle himself. If you flinch, she'll see weakness. If you hold steady, she'll respect you even more. The final and perhaps most frustrating trap is that most men give up too soon. Developing this mindset isn't an overnight transformation. It's a process. At first, it might feel unnatural. You might find yourself slipping into old patterns, overanalyzing, seeking reassurance, or reacting emotionally. That's normal. The key is persistence. Many men get discouraged when they don't see immediate results. They expect to change their mindset and instantly have women drawn to them. But that's not how it works. You have to give it time. Women will notice the shift in your energy, but it takes consistency. The men who succeed are the ones who commit to this fully, not just for a week or a month, but as a way of life. Those who quit early fall back into the same traps of neediness, overreaction, and scarcity mentality. Mastering this isn't just about attracting women. It's about becoming the kind of man who naturally commands respect. And that takes time. The men who get this right don't just get better with women. They get better in every area of their lives. So here's the ultimate test. Can you go 30 days without chasing validation? Can you stay in control no matter how she reacts? That's the real challenge. Most men can't do it. They crack under pressure. They slip back into their old habits, constantly seeking approval, overanalyzing every text and letting their emotions dictate their actions. But you You're not most men. Indifference to outcome. That's the ultimate mindset shift. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely being at peace with whatever happens. When you master this, everything changes. Women sense it, they respect it, they're drawn to it in a way they can't even explain. And it's not just about attraction, it's about power over your own life. Look around. The men who struggle the most with women are the ones who care too much about the wrong things. They're desperate for attention, approval, and love. They think if they just do the right thing, say the right words, or play the right game, they'll finally get what they want. But the men who have options, the men who women chase, they don't operate that way. They focus on themselves, on their mission, on their growth. Women are naturally drawn into their world. This isn't a trick. It's not a gimmick. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to chase. When you stop looking for validation, when you stop reacting to every little thing, when you stop making women the center of your universe, they feel it. They notice. They wonder, what's different about him? And that's when attraction happens on a deeper level. So ask yourself, are you in control of your emotions, or are you still letting other people dictate how you feel? Can you go 30 days without needing reassurance, without over-analyzing, without letting fear guide your actions? If you can, you're on your way to something bigger than just success with women. You're on your way to mastering yourself. Attraction isn't about tricks. It's about who you become. Master yourself, and they will follow. And that's the real challenge, isn't it? Can you actually go 30 days without chasing validation? Can you stay in control no matter how she reacts? This isn't about playing games. It's about becoming the kind of man who naturally attracts without effort. Because at the end of the day, attraction isn't about tricks. It's about who you become. Master yourself, and everything else falls into place. If this resonated with you, there's more where that came from. Stick around, hit subscribe, and let's keep sharpening that mindset. No pressure, just real, actionable insights. Now, let's move forward.